cities around the country are facing new fiscal challenges as the cost of accommodating a flood of immigrants comes on top of other costs that were already rising. New York is no exception, with a budget deficit projected to be $7 billion this year and rising to $20 billion over the next 3 years. One of those trying to help Mayor Adams and his financial teams deal with these issues is Bob Steele. He's Vice Chairman of Perella Weinberg. Bob, welcome back. It's great to have you.
Great to be here, David, and thanks for having me.
You know wherever you speak. You served as a deputy mayor under Mike Bloomberg, the owner of Bloomberg LP. Where are we right now in the budget deficit? Why do we have this big hole?
Well, let's go back and think about this together, David, how we got here. We have two issues the way I would think about it. The first and most immediate is that we've had this surge of immigrants and migrants coming to New York City. Almost 170,000 have come to New York, and that is a fact. And the mayor and his administration did a strong job of responding to this change of migrants coming, and they've done a good job of organizing services for them. But it was done very quickly and stood up as fast as it could be in response to the flood. Now we're recognizing this is an issue that's going to be with us for a bit. We need to organize ourselves to take care of it and manage it in a more organized, efficient, and cost-effective way going forward. The issue of the migrants is probably half of the described $7 billion-ish problem that we're dealing with, so roughly half. The second half comes from expenses that were, in many cases, came out of the pandemic, and services were provided in support of our citizens as part of the pandemic. And now the aid from the federal government is receding, and some of these services are still continuing, so that's creating this gap. So those are the two issues, and Mayor Adams asked for a group of us, there are about a handful, were people that worked in city government, worked in the budget office, come from labor, come from business, organized in part by the New York City Partnership to work with his budget office to figure out ways we can make suggestions. But those are the two issues that we're thinking about.
Bob, you were responsible for economic development, right, as deputy mayor under Mike Bloomberg. Is there a possibility this is a timing issue? And by that I mean this. Economists tell us that overall economic growth is driven in part by the number of workers. These migrants that have come in have the potential to be workers to add to the economy. Is it possible that over time it actually could be a help to the New York economy?
David, I think you really hit the nail on the head. That basically our city New York has an amazing history for over 400 years. We all know that immigrants have been the foundation of New York City. We also know from economists that immigrants are a special active ingredient to the economy of New York. Immigrants start new businesses, they're more creative, they work longer hours. So over time, these new Yorkers will be an asset. But it is a shock to us currently to organize the processes and the services for them and to get them their foot on that first rung of the ladder so they can start be contributors to the New York economy.
Bob, talk about the other half of the problem as you described it, which is the buildup of some costs for good and sufficient reason when there was money coming in for the federal government tied to COVID that now we no longer have. It's always hard to cut. You know that, I know that in business. It's not easy to cut. It's a lot easier to expand. How realistic is it politically to make the sort of cuts that need to be made?
Well, we're going to have to. So there's no choice of not balancing our budget. That's required. So we're on the mission to solve that puzzle of balancing the budget. You're correct that costs are always difficult to take out. I think, too, David, that in this situation, the amount of costs that we have to take out are higher than a normal recession or a normal impact. So it's really important. We can't solve these by reducing by 5% across all the different agencies. We're going to have to be quite strategic about what areas can we reduce and what areas really just have to stay as they are. You know, people have expectations for New York. We're a class of one in terms of world-class cities. People expect New York to be safe, clean, and provide a certain level of services. So we're going to have to be very careful in how we organize the reductions that we're going to have to do. And it can't be done across the board in a uniform way. But instead, this is where the budget director and the mayor's administration, I think, have the right idea. But it's a balance. And, you know, we have the city council who has a point of view. We have the administration that has a point of view. And we have Albany, the governor, and the legislatures in Albany that have a point of view. And so balancing the different perspectives of all these people is really the challenging puzzle that we're trying to help solve.